As some of you know, this space is a temporary, amazing gift that we've been given to activate and get the boards down and bring art into this place and see what can come of it. So the Women Rising show is the second exhibition that we've hosted in here after the Tides of Change show. Both were open calls, and the idea is that we cast a really big net and see who we can catch in that process. And we get submissions from all over the place, area-wide, and then we just take everybody's work and we curate it on site once we're in here. And that's a really magical process for us because we get to let the work speak in its own way and around the works of other things that are happening with it, alongside it, and we get to create dialogue between those pieces. It might be conversation about color or texture or subject matter or something, but it's pretty cool what comes together when we start putting work together in space and time. So we are trying so desperately to keep this space for a little while longer and host the next show, which will be the high school art show, and it will be a San Francisco citywide open call to high school students, basically aged 14 to 18 who are still in school or not. This is a super transitional time for high school kids, and we're really hoping to use this space to elevate those that really need it right now, women being one of them, and then high school kids. And giving them agency, giving them a place to share the work they may have been making during COVID, or maybe they're making now that they're back in school. And maybe it's just a complete mental dump that they need to share, and we want to give them space to do that. And this space has been such a tremendous asset to sharing work because the foot traffic that comes through here every day, all day long, is continuous. And we don't know where it will come from or who will walk through the door, but serendipity is totally driving this whole crazy circus that we're trying to hold on to. So your job is only one thing, and that is to tell everyone about this show before it ends. And when you tell them about the next show and the things that we want to do here. So that's how we're going to keep it. Okay, we have to have the community speaking on behalf of this. And I think that's much louder and will have a much bigger impact than trying to get a grant and trying to survive off that like every other nonprofit. I think if we can find people who live here, who love this, who walk in and fall completely head over heels in love with something, maybe it's just tripping on art. Maybe it's that their kid tripped on art, I don't know. Or maybe their dog, I'm not sure. But we will take it because we need it. So that's all I gotta say about that. Thank you for being here again. And Courtney has done such an incredible job of getting to know every artist in the show in a really deep dive, reading about them, doing a much deeper thing than just seeing the work in itself. So you're gonna get to hear her tell you all about that. So thank you, Oscar.
Hard act to follow. I will start. It's my pleasure to introduce Andrea Bergen, who's been such an important part of our shows here at Valencia Street. One of our loyal, faithful gallery sitters, and among many of you here are also that as well. Her intricate collages, and I will say that when I first introduce people to her work, they immediately assume it's a painting, and which is, as we are seeing, that's not what they are at all. And I find them just endlessly fascinating. They're often animal-centric, and they express her anxiety about environmental destruction brought on by humans. And so her work also fit very well with our last theme, Tides of Change. Her pieces are dark, and they're witty, and intense, and whimsical, and colorful. There's so many adjectives I can use to describe them. She is a Bay Area native who went to CCA, which we were just talking about the other day. But I love hearing her talk about her work, so I'm just going to turn it over to her right now. So thank you.
Thank you, Courtney Renee. I'm Andrea, and I'm a cut paper collage artist, and this is my piece I call With Outside, and it's my imagining of an online avatar having some sort of spiritual reckoning in this kind of, it's a representation of like a mental landscape, and my experience with the pandemic when I couldn't make art and like everything was kind of taken away, and I had to like sit with myself and just be, and it was very challenging. And that was after like the online shopping stopped being satisfying, and then eating pancakes all day. And the weird things I was trying to do to cope, like none of it was working anymore. So this is kind of like at the end of everything, like what happened. And this piece is created with hundreds of pieces of hand-cut paper. So every little shape is another piece of paper, and I do it all with these scissors. And this paper, it's intended for pastel drawing. It's acid-free, just Canson paper. And I really like seeing what I can achieve just with this limited texture. It's got some tooth to it, but it's pretty flat. So I really enjoy seeing, can I make fur, can I make hair, what can I make inorganic and organic materials. And so I've been doing this technique since 2013. I went to CCA, I was doing really large scale acrylic and oil paintings. And I always wanted to paint, like do a paint by number style, but I'm just so impatient and impulsive that I could never do it. I hate waiting for paint to dry. So I really like the oil paint, but it just takes too long. And what I like about the paper is it's endlessly additive. So I can just keep cutting, keep pasting, and eventually it gets this sculptural, topographical type of layering once enough pieces are put on top of each other, especially if I make a mistake and have to cover something up, it gets like a big lump to it. And so that's kind of been my focus for about the last decade, just trying to see what I can achieve with this medium. And it often is animals. I just love animals, and kind of using the medium as an outlet for thinking about climate change and imagining a future after humans are gone in which the environment does regain equilibrium and all the animals like are happy and playing and all their trash left behind. And so they often are the protagonists, but I've been doing people recently, and they are a little bit grotesque looking just because of how I achieve the effect of the skin. But I think with this piece just so striking, and kind of the original idea for it was a modern saints, like updating the saints. This was Saint Teresa out in the desert having an awakening, and I had her eyes crossed and she was foaming at the mouth, and it was kind of unpleasant to look at. And so I updated the face and kind of imagined like a lot of people getting plastic surgery recently because of Zoom, and you're looking at yourself all day on the computer, so she's got the big lips and the eyes are just kind of like expressing the emotion of this reckoning. Yeah, this is on canvas. I usually work on panel, and then instead of framing, I put this duct tape. Yeah, I think that's all I have to say about that.
Is the red light part of it, or?
This is just a happy accident, right?
Well, yes, we love the combination, so we felt it had to live there. Yes.
But this light was already here?
Those two lights have been there the
We
whole
didn't have any
time.
lighting, except for a couple little quick lights, tiny little 8-bitty battery operated. Nope. It's worked well for the last 2 years we've had it.
I love your work. It's not in the last show as well.
Thank
I
you.
absolutely love it. My brother pointed it out to me, who's a stencil artist, and he said, look at this. And it's fabulous.
Oh,
I
thank
love what
you.
you're talking about.
Thank you.
I love it.
Oh, there is, so everything is like a composite from a Google search, like just searching, like I need happy chihuahua, I need sunset, I need desert. So I'm just looking up different Google images and freehanding all the cuts, but sometimes there'll be a sketch underneath. Like if I know what I'm doing, I'll sketch it out and then draw it onto the panel, but then after that, it's just all free cut. And I just kind of developed different techniques. It's like this is what I call sushi grass. It's like cutting the little triangles out, and then there's confetti style, which is making little tiny squares that I use for like the eyeball shine, and then I'm always tracking little pieces of paper around, and you can see I follow my trail wherever I go in the studio.
Do you work on one area at a time, or do you kind of jump around with the colors?
It's kind of I have to start at the very back, like at the deepest part, and then build up. But I do kind of go back and forth a little bit, but often it's just whatever's the furthest to the closest.
What kind of glue do you use?
I've been using different gel mediums for acrylic. They're intended for acrylic painting, like golden gel medium, and it just gives a nice adhesion, and it puts like a plasticky surface, and then I spray it with a UV. But often matte mediums is the cheapest.
So when you're producing all the little bits and, do you do like a pile? Like, oh, okay, I'm gonna need like 10,000 pieces of this blue. Do you just make that and have like little mountains of paper, or do you just go and cut it and build one piece at a time?
It's kind of one at a time, and then my table gets like all the, I get calling it spandrel, like the whatever, the negative, and then I have a pile of scraps, and I have a huge bag of scraps, and my studio mate is reusing some of them, but I don't know what to do with all these scraps. So if someone wants a bunch of scraps,
You blend them up and make them into paper.
that's one idea. That'll be great.
Tie to it.
Yeah.
Just pigment.
Yeah, that's another thing I like using the pre-colored paper because the opacity and the saturation of color, and again, I don't want to like paint it and have to wait for it to dry. I really like just being able to, I go to Blake, I pull all these off the shelf, and then I have my palette set out, and I can just pull it as I need it, and then work pretty quickly that way.
I would love to see your studio.
Oh yeah, it's over at 21st and Harrison. They were in there. 3 of my friends and I are sharing. We're in this Victorian garage beneath this Victorian house. It's converted garage, and you can't tell there's anything going on from the outside. But then inside, there's like 15 artists in there.
Whoa, magic!
Yeah.
Those are like the things that people. Oh, I love that. It's like,
Yes.
just say what's
Where do you buy your duct tape?
This might have been a Michael's. Gotta go to Michael's for the good duct tape.
How much have you created with this type of with the paper?
The biggest one was a 12 panel, so 12 3x4 foot panels, and they all fit together into a 4 by 36 foot long thing, or like a progression from like the sequoias with these black bears, the point rays with an L, and then Joshua tree, and then like this parking lot that's like the aliens come down, they're abducting dogs. And so that's the biggest one, and that was at 4 Barrel Coffee down here. They have a huge wall. But I like to work big. It's that took a few months. This one took about 3 weeks. So it just kind of depends on if I know what I'm doing or not.
What happened to that piece that's down in LA at the circus, that gallery that you, Prometheus? The piece that's similar to this, but it's...
Yeah, there was a pop-up down in LA. Someone converted this storefront into their own little circus. It was really bright colored, and they invited a few artists to put their pieces in there. So the kind of the companion piece, my modern Sebastian was down in LA, and he's getting skewered by lollipops. And he's now albino. He's kind of got a strange face, but that was another like modern update of the Saints. Sometimes I get an idea and I'm very excited about it, and then I start it, and then that's it.
Love it. All right, well, oh, sorry.
Yeah, thanks.
Do we have any more questions? I didn't mean to interrupt. Okay.
Why did you get the reference from Christianity? What does it speak to you?
I think it's just like the stories are very evocative, and like I've seen other representations in art, and I just kind of wanted to do my own little spin on it. But I grew up Presbyterian, so it's not diet Christianity, I call it. No, it's not really personal affiliation.
That was funny.
Thank you.